Good morning, YouTube. It's 11:59 p.m. I don't know why I said good morning. We gotta sit down with Shawn C here, and I'm here to answer the question, does bad music exist? I know I make these discussion videos a lot, and they're generally based on what I decide to answer, not based off of any suggestions. So again, if you have any questions that you want me to answer or form a discussion video about, just leave them in the comment section and I'll try to make a video out of your question. Does bad music exist? And I'm here to tell you, no, it does not. To say something is definitely good or definitely bad, you'd have to be viewing it with a sense of objectivity. There is no person in the world, I believe, that has no list of things that they would consider before they would rank an album, a project, or a piece of art good or bad. Everyone has a certain criteria that they feel needs to be met in order to judge or deem something as good or bad. And that's not only with music, that can be with anything. Your favorite TV show, your favorite movie, any piece of cinema, your favorite food. Seeing as how those things are all subjective and solely based on the person's preference, there's no way to determine what constitutes as good or bad from that particular individual. And that particular individual is you, it's me, it's everyone else in the world. The other 7 billion people on this planet, yeah, it's all them too. Anything that cannot be viewed as objectively good or bad cannot be good or bad. Something as simple as music is something that we all have a subjective view on. Music is pretty much what you want to listen to based off of the criteria that you've set for it. And it's extremely difficult to get to somebody that claims they're a fan of hip-hop, because hip-hop fans tend to be some of the most sensitive people on earth. There's nothing they don't view with bias. That's every music fan of every genre, of course, but hip-hop fans tend to have the strongest opinion, as if their opinion on anything is scripture. Take myself for instance. I'm a huge fan of lyrics, I'm a huge fan of flow, I'm a huge fan of delivery, huge fan of, making instrumentals experimental, taking things from the weirdest places in the world and making it sound good on a track. I'm a huge fan of dark music. The list really does go on of things that I would consider a good or a bad album or track or playlist or any kind of musical project. So is it safe to say that I can objectively say or tell you what's good or bad in the music world? No. It'd be a fool's game to form your opinion on music based off the subjective opinion of another individual. And that might bring up another question of, doesn't that make reviewing anything pointless? Seeing as you can't judge something without a subjective view on it. And I would tell you no, because reviewing anything is essentially based off of the interpretation of the individual who is reviewing it. It's their job to explain properly why they do or don't like music. They don't necessarily have to be right in their opinion. I mean, seeing as music is subjective, no one ever will be. To say if music is good or bad, you would have to say that you're viewing it objectively, meaning you have no bias toward what you consider good music, meaning you have no criteria or no special requirements set for what constitutes as a good listening experience, which is a literal impossibility for any person who claims to be a fan of music. Hold your horses, okay? That does not mean all the Lil Yachty and the Lil Uzi fans are off the hook, because if objectively bad music cannot exist, then the same thing goes for objectively good music. First guy who ever listened to music did not start out with a zero criteria. He never said, okay, I'm going to list these things that constitute what good music is, and if they don't fall within these categories, it's going to be bad. Especially seeing as how music is split into its own separate genres with multiple different artists controlling those genres. Even if you accept the fact that music is good or bad subjectively, and then once you get to that level, you need to know how to differentiate bad music from music that's just poorly executed in your subjective opinion. I'd hate to keep bringing him up, but the Lil Yachty project, for instance, was one of the most poorly executed albums I had heard in recent years. But there were good aspects of it, like the production value, concept, and where Lil Yachty could have taken that album, and the element of surprise that he had, because no one really knew what to expect going into this Lil Yachty project. Going even further than that, you need to know when to say if music just isn't for you, but if you can still admit whether or not it's good, subjectively. This doesn't just count for music, this counts for things like food. An apple pie can't be objectively good or bad because there's going to be a million different people tasting it, and somebody's going to say it's good, and somebody's going to say it's bad. A person can't be objectively attractive. A TV show can't be objectively entertaining. If you see my train of thought here, assuming the person you're having this conversation about bad music with is a level-headed individual and that can take a difference of opinion, your only job as a music listener is to be able to articulate why you do or don't like something, not to say you are the voice for what is considered good or bad music objectively. Because as I said, that doesn't exist. Tupac by the masses is considered one of the best for his time. You shouldn't believe that because more people believe something that makes it any less subjective. The point is, as someone who is considered a reviewer of music, all my job is to view music with a sense of objectivity, meaning that I hold no bias in my heart against the artist making the music, and that if it is good to me, even if it is a subjective opinion, I will view it as such if it falls within those categories I've set. As long as I explain why I do or don't like it, that's the only thing I need to do. Your only job as a music listener is essentially to form a list or have a criteria of set things that make a song enjoyable or not for you. Carefully explain why you do or don't like a specific song or album. Stick to that criteria. What we don't need is a bunch of flip-floppers who change their criteria, especially if it's influenced by the likes of someone else. Someone saying something to you that you've never heard shouldn't immediately trigger you to change your entire criteria that quickly. I understand why people are swayed by other people's opinions, because if you can explain why you do or don't like something in the greatest way possible, then it can trigger people to say, maybe I should listen to this guy a little bit more. He seems to be on something when explaining why he does or doesn't like something, so I can view him as an objective individual, even though he's listening to music with a criteria set in his mind. As long as he figures out how to explain himself, I'm good. I don't have to agree with him. Point is, good music and bad music does not exist, because to say something is definitely good or bad, you're saying that you're viewing it with a sense of objectivity, which when it comes to music, no one is able to do that. It's literally based on how it hits you and what you take from it. It's been a sit down with Shawn C. I hope I answered this question. If you got any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll see you in the next video, and I'm out objectively. I'm objectively leaving the sight of the camera right now. This is not a game.